Good afternoon and welcome to the GFB International Bible Study. Today we're continuing the study of the book of Job. Today we study Job 10. And Job 10 opens with what Job would say to God. Verses 1 through 7 tells us Job would ask God, "Why are you doing this?" It is written, "My soul loathes my life. I will give free course to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, do not condemn me. Show me why you contend with me. Does it seem good to you that you should oppress, that you should despise the work of your hands and smile on the counsel of the wicked? Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see as man sees? Are your days like the days of a mortal man? Are your years like the days of a mighty man, that you should seek for my iniquity and search out my sin, although you know that I am not wicked, and there is no one who can deliver me from your hand?" You know, it seems that Job believed that he had not yet begun to complain to his God. And we need to remember that God is the author of the book of Job. This tells us that God does hear our cries, our thoughts, our groanings, and our tears, even though right now Job does not realize God is hearing every single word and thought of his righteous, suffering servant, Job. And Anderson says it well, and I quote, "Such a poem is called a complaint, a moaning appeal to God's compassion. The parallel phrase, the bitterness of my soul, describes misery, not sourness. Do not condemn me. Show me why you contend with me." And Smick explains this as well. And I quote, "The meaning of do not condemn me is literally treat a person as wicked." That was Job's problem with God. It appeared to him that the Almighty was giving him what a wicked man deserved, when he knew Job was not a wicked man. It is a remarkable fact, apparently unobserved by commentators, but very revealing of Job's mind, that in none of his petitions does he make the obvious request for his sickness to be cured, as if everything will be all right when he is well again. That would not answer the question, which is more urgent than every other concern. Why, Lord? Show me how I have failed and shamed you in any wickedness that I am unaware of. The tried saint may ask, as Job did, "Show me why you contend with me." And Spurgeon suggests several answers. It may be that God is contending with you to show you his power to uphold you regardless. It may be that God is contending with you to go develop your graces. It may be that God is contending with you because you have some secret sin that is doing you great damage. And it may be that God is contending with you because he wants you to enter into the fellowship of his sufferings. And it may be that God is contending with you to humble you. And Spurgeon says the seeking sinner might also ask, as Job did, "Show me why you contend with me." And Spurgeon once again suggested several answers to this seeking sinner. It may be that God is contending with you because you are not yet thoroughly awakened to your lost condition. It may be that God is contending with you in order to test your earnestness. It may be that God is contending with you because you are harboring one sin that you will not turn over to him. It may be that God is contending with you because you do not yet thoroughly understand the plan of salvation. Amen. Does it seem good to you that you should oppress, that you should despise the work of your hands? Job vented more and more to his God, didn't he? He just poured his heart out. Does this make you happy? I am the work of your hands, and look how you are treating me. Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see as man sees? Job clearly knew that God was not limited in his vision as humans are. Yet by the facts Job has seen and experienced, it seemed at this moment like God saw him with the same shallow and superficial vision that his friends used. Amen. Although you know that I am not wicked. Job appealed to God's knowledge of Job and his character. Of course, we know God agreed with Job's self-estimation, even saying that Job was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil, told to us in Job 1:1. But remember, Job knows none of Job 1 and 2, which God himself shares with us. Yet Job's present distress twisted his perception of God to the point where he could not see what could only be seen by the eye of faith that goes beyond the sight of present circumstances. Amen. Verses 8 through 12 tells us Job would ask, I am your creation. Why do you afflict me? It is written, your hands have made me and fashioned me, an intricate unity, yet you would destroy me. Remember, I pray, that you have made me like clay, and will you turn me into dust again? Did you not pour me out like milk, and curdle me like cheese, clothe me with skin and flesh, and knit me together with bones and sinews? You have granted me life and favor, and your care has preserved my spirit. You know, Job knows your hands have made me and fashioned me in intricate unity. Job was a smart scientist even in those days and knew that God was the author of creation and specifically of mankind. He had the same understanding as the psalmist who said, I will, in Psalm 139:14, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. You know, in mentioning you have made me like clay and will turn me into dust again, Job seemed to understand that mankind came from the dust of the ground, told to us in Genesis 2:7. Amen. In wonderful poetry, Job illustrated the fashioning of his body by three pictures. Man is like a vessel of clay shaped by a potter. Job 10:9. Man is like a cheese poured out by a cheesemaker. Job 10:10. Man is like a garment wove by a weaver. Job 10:11. Amen. Yet you would destroy me. Job knew that God created him. Now he felt that God wanted to destroy him. What Job did not know is that God had strictly forbade this calamity to end in his death, told to us in Job 2:6. You know, we can sympathize with what Job felt, and we understand that he could not know any of this of Job 1 and 2, yet we also know the truth from the heavenly scene behind the earthly scene. Amen. You have granted me life and favor, and your care has preserved my spirit. Job could not deny God's past work in his life as creator and as preserver, yet all that made things more problematic, not less. Amen. The depth of his experience told him, why has the same God who created me and preserved me now so obviously abandoned me? Amen. In Job 10:12, Job actually thanked God for three wonderful things. Remember, life, divine favor, divine visitation. Verses 13 through 17 tells us Job asked God to reveal a sinful cause within Job himself. It is written, and these things you have hidden in your heart. I know that this was with you. If I sin, then you mark me, and will not acquit me of my iniquity. If I am wicked, woe to me. Even if I am righteous, I cannot lift up my head. I am full of disgrace. See my misery. My head is exalted. If my head is exalted, you hunt me like a fierce lion, and again you show yourself awesome against me. You renew your witnesses against me and increase your indignation toward me. Changes and war are ever with me. Precious, right? These things you have hidden in your heart. I know that this was with you. Job begins to touch on the core of the problem that stirred inside of him. He knew that God knew all the causes and answers for Job's condition, yet God did not share them and tell Job. Again, because of Job 1 and 2, we are the readers of Job are in the curious position of knowing what Job did not know, right? The causes and intentions of Job's present calamity were hidden in God and were hidden to Job. But God has shared with the reader of the book of Job what Job himself did not know. You know, it is easy to read the book of Job assuming that Job himself knew what happened in the heavenly realms as recorded in the first 2 chapters of the book. The reader of the book of Job must resist this assumption and instead empathize with Job, knowing that it was just as difficult for him to comprehend the workings of the spiritual realm as it is for us. If I am wicked, woe to me. Job's friends insisted, didn't they, that the disasters of his life came upon him because of some particular deep, dark iniquity and wickedness within him. Job protested over and over again that this was not the case. And here he again states the thought. Amen. You hunt me like a fierce lion, and again you show yourself awesome against me. Job felt as though God were no help to him at all in his present distress. Instead, he felt as though he were prey for God, who suddenly turned and came against him like a fierce lion. Amen. Verses 18 through 22 tells us Job asked God just to leave him alone. It is written, "Why then have you brought me out of the womb? Oh, that I had perished and no eye had seen me. I would have been as though I had not been. I would have been carried from the womb to the grave. Are not my days few? Cease. Leave me alone that I may take a little comfort before I go to the place from which I shall not return, to the land of darkness and the shadow of death, a land as dark as darkness itself, as the shadow of death without any order, where even the light is like darkness. Why then have you brought me out of the womb?" You notice Job here returned to the theme first spoken by Job in Job 3. He felt that it would have been far better if he had never been born than to suffer this, to shame his God, do something that God abandoned him for. He is still wishing that he had never been born in the face of shaming and failing his God. Job felt these thoughts because he could not see any sense in his suffering. His friends saw sense. Job suffered because he sinned, and this is proper correction. But Job knew in his heart they were wrong. We see sense because we know what Job did not know from the first 2 chapters of the book. Even though Job could not see it, it was real nonetheless. Amen. It would have completely, think about this, it would have completely changed Job's situation if he could see by faith the invisible, or at least comfort himself in the understanding that there were invisible dynamics in heavenly places that made sense of his situation. But he didn't. But still, even in the hurt and heart of his soul, he doesn't curse God, does he? He cries keeps crying out to his God. Amen. Cease, leave me alone. At this point in the story, Job would simply prefer that God would just leave him alone. He did not recognize that it was only because God did not leave him alone that he had endured this far and was not completely destroyed by either the devil or despair. And Morgan says it very well, and I quote, "As we read it, we feel that the suggestions which Job made about God were entirely wrong, but we remember that they were not wicked because they were honest to God." To the land of darkness and shadow of death. You know, the book of Job well reflects the difficult apprehension of the truth of the afterlife in the Old Testament. It was still pretty much a mystery. Amen. Statements of murky, near despair like this are combined with occasional declarations of triumphant, confident faith, as in Job 19, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God." Amen. But right now, this cloudy understanding of the afterlife in the Old Testament does not surprise the reader of the New Testament, does it? Who knows? We who have the New Testament knows that Jesus Christ brought life and immortality to life, promised and told to us in 2 Timothy 1:10. Amen. So until next week, be blessed and stay blessed in our amazing Jesus Christ.